thank you for having me here tonight. I have a little presentation just to report on my grant, just our typical every 6 months. So I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to speak with you tonight. Tara, hopefully you know, but I'm Lexi. I'm our victim advocate. Okay. So, as I mentioned, this is for the VOCA grant, Victims of Crime Act. This project was started to help agencies to have victim services, specifically with law enforcement, but also with nonprofits, to try to make sure that we have victim advocates available to provide services to those who need it. So first I want to go over a little bit about the concerns that people have within the criminal justice system. In past meetings, I've talked a little bit about the barriers that survivors face when they are trying to come forward or trying to leave an abusive relationship. But this specifically goes over some of the concerns they have and some of the reasons why they may not choose to come forward. So they may have questions or concerns that can be a barrier to seek help and safety. Some of those questions on the red square there are ones that I've heard from people here in our community. Will I ever get justice? Is it even worth it? If my partner goes to jail, how will we pay our bills? Will other people believe me? Can we even do anything about this? So there's a lot of really valid concerns that you can see here. And to unfortunately put it pretty plainly, we can't address every one of these concerns. We can't promise that they won't face retaliation if they come forward. We can't promise that they'll be able to find a way to magically pay their bills if they no longer have that income coming in, which makes it really difficult. But with that, there are ways that we're trying to address it, and there are different avenues to get support. And so while we already know that there are a lot of barriers and a lot of issues with coming forward, sometimes we don't know what support is available or why would someone want to come forward. And so I wanted to highlight that a little bit for us tonight. So after a victimization occurs, any crime that has a victim, a survivor is often left with a list of needs that they suddenly need to find ways to meet. Like I mentioned, sometimes their partner was the one that was in control of the finances, or maybe they have someone that they were helping with childcare that is no longer an option. They need to address these needs while navigating the criminal justice system and trying to cope with what they just endured. As you can imagine, it's extremely difficult, it's stressful, and it's overwhelming. Ultimately, this can bring survivors to a pretty hopeless place. But that's why I'm grateful for positions like the one I'm in right now, because I'm able to share all of the support and resources that are available to survivors so they know that they don't have to go through this alone. So how do we address these concerns right here, specifically in Spanish Fork? It's easy to talk about this in pretty broad terms, but I'm going to take it right down to our department here in our city. So the first thing is we try to take a trauma-informed approach. What that means is that we are staying up to date on all relevant training to make sure that we are doing our very best to minimize re-traumatization. A lot of times, survivors will tell us that after going through the process, they felt re-victimized all over again. It was like they were being hurt or abused all over again. And that's because this process, as we were saying, has a lot of barriers. It has a lot of struggles, and it's a difficult process. So the one way that the people here at our department, specifically the civilian employees, we also partner with our legal department and then with our officers and detectives, is we all receive trauma-informed training to make sure, like I said, that we're up to date on that information. We try to do this by making sure that we have comfort measures in place for when survivors come for meetings, interviews, or to report. It's survivor-led. If they need to take a break, if they need to pause this interview and come back later, they can do that. We try to minimize the re-traumatization by making sure that they're in a comfortable area. Many people might not know this, but we have a soft interview room. So instead of being interviewed like the person who committed the crime, you're going to be in an area where it's comfortable. There's blankets, there's stuffed animals, there's couches, there's fidget toys, whatever we can do to try to make this less awful of an experience because they've already been through so much. So that's just one approach that we take to try to make sure that we are not adding more harm to this process. The next one is communication. We strive to have open communication with the survivor to ensure that we're identifying their needs and addressing their concerns. So this looks like from the very beginning, very first report, we're saying, what do you need right now? In domestic violence cases, this is done through a lethality assessment, and depending on where they score, they will be automatically put in touch with resources that can help them right then and there. This is also where I come in at the beginning of their case, and I'll sit down with the survivor and we make a list of their needs. Some needs that I might guess they might have are not issues, but then others I may not have thought of. And so we strive to have this very open communication to ensure that we're not missing anything, that they're not left wondering how they're going to handle this alone. And then part of that process is we address how are we going to meet these needs? How are we going to fill the needs that you have? So that takes us to collaboration. There are some needs that our department can help with, and there are some that it's maybe not the most appropriate or the most reasonable to help, and so that's where we collaborate with other agencies. So this collaboration can take place within our own department and then outside in our community as well. We collaborate, one, in between patrol officers, detectives, the legal team, and me. We all collaborate to make sure that our communication with the survivor is clean and documented. We make sure that we're all on the same page about where their case is at and what information we're sharing with them, making sure that they're up to date on their case and getting all relevant notifications. With that, then if there's other needs that we can't fulfill, like if we cannot provide legal support to help them in their divorce, we're going to help connect them to an agency that can. If we can't directly provide housing, we're going to, again, connect them to an agency that hopefully will be able to help them fill that need. Next, we have creative solutions. So this goes back to our communication point. Are we actually helping? Are we actually fulfilling the needs? Maybe that person doesn't want to go through a divorce, and so getting a divorce attorney is not going to be the most effective way to fulfill their needs. Or if it goes back to that red square of those concerns they have, are we going to put this person in jail for a long time and leave them without any support financially? So we go back to that communication and we ensure that what we're doing is actually going to help the survivor rather than add further harm. So sometimes this is adding a treatment component to a plea offer that we send, or sometimes this looks like having a specific protective order that has conditions that allows them to communicate about the kids, or to help make sure that their bills are paid on time. And so we work with law enforcement and our prosecutor to review our options and try to come up with creative solutions to make sure that we're holding the person who needs to be held accountable and responsible for what they did, but also make sure that we're not only benefiting the survivor and not harming them, but also hopefully benefiting the community by addressing the issue and trying to resolve the problem before it escalates further. And then lastly, that takes us to safety and healing. The ultimate goal of our department is to keep our community safe. We also want to assist and support the survivor as they begin their healing journey. So we know that the healing doesn't end when the case does, but we just want to get them on their feet again. We want to help them have a strong foundation to be able to progress and heal further from here. So some positive things of ways that people within our community have tried to assist with these goals that we have are through donations and service projects. So we utilize community members with things like donations of, as I mentioned, those comfort items. So you'll see up in the top corner there, we've got coloring books, fidget toys, games, Play-Doh, stuffed animals. All of those things are to help the person who's coming in, regardless of their age, really. I know they seem like they would be for a younger audience, but really anyone can benefit when you're in that deep trauma. And so any comfort item that can help reduce their anxiety a little bit and make them feel just a little bit better about working with officers, working with attorneys, those really do make a big difference. And so we're grateful to people who do provide those donations, but there's also other ways that people have helped us, and that's through service projects. So in the bottom corner here, you'll see we had a local college student put together folders for our survivors that include helpful legal terms that they might not know if they've never been in the system before. They have the victim rights in there. They've got pamphlets for local resources. And this just helps us to make sure that they're getting all of the information, not just electronically, but having that physical handout can be really helpful as well. So that's just a few ways that people in our community have tried to give back. And again, it goes back toward that collaboration where maybe our department cannot provide all of this ourselves, but through a collaborative effort, we can help the survivor meet the needs that they have. And then the last point that I have is just kind of a positive story from one of our survivors here in Spanish Fork. She's given me permission to share a little bit about her story. So last year we began working with a woman who had experienced domestic violence from her husband. She had to leave very quickly. She had children with this individual, and she had a lot of needs that she had to face and a lot of support that she needed during this time, as you can imagine. So our department assisted her from the very first initial report, that very first 911 call, to the very end of her case. Her criminal case is just about wrapped up now. And so we've been helping her a little over a year now. So around this past Christmas of 2024, she was in a little bit better of a place than when we had originally started working with her. When we originally started, she was leaving with pretty much nothing. She needed housing, she needed legal support, she needed basic care items, she needed comfort items. And so we were working with her to address all of those things. And around the end of the year, she had spoken with me and was saying how much that made a difference and how big of an impact that was to make sure that that was one less thing she didn't have to worry about as she was trying to navigate so much. So this past Christmas, she was telling me that she felt strongly that she wanted to help those who were in a similar situation to what she had experienced. For me, that was really cool because it meant that she made enough progress to feel like she was in a place to give back, which I think is just the most beautiful part of this process, is to see a survivor get back on their feet and continue with their lives and be their own independent and healthy people. So she decided to share her story with fellow coworkers, friends, neighbors, and that inspired all of them to assist her with this project. So she asked if she could donate hygiene kits to those who do need to flee like she did, under short notice and often without the items they need. They put together dozens and dozens of hygiene kits. We have a whole supply closet full of them, which was so amazing because I've been able to give these out to so many people who do truly need that. And it's nice to see that that's, again, if they left without a toothbrush, that's one less thing they don't have to worry about. You know, that's one less thing on their plate. So we were able to start distributing these. We still have some to distribute, but again, I just wanted to highlight that this process does work, and if we are able to connect survivors with these resources and support them in this collaborative way, that we can get them to the point where they want to give back as well. And I thought that was so cool, again, because it shows the progress that she was able to make even within the year. So to wrap up, thank you again for letting me be here and educate you a little bit about what I do and what's going on in our community. I put a little quote here: the whole is greater than the sum of the parts. And so all of us individually, we do an amazing job in each of our roles. Our officers do a great job. Our legal team does a great job. Community members do a great job. But when we all work together and collaborate and create that circle of support for the people in our community who are the most vulnerable or who need the support the most, it's a lot greater and the effect is a lot bigger, often more than we realize. So using our voice, educating ourselves, and dedicating our time to this work, to supporting survivors, it makes a bigger impact than truly any of us will know. So thank you again for the time tonight. I appreciate it. And if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Any questions for Lexi, Council?
Thank you for what you do. That's a hard job.
Yeah, thank you, Lexi.
Chief, anything you want to?
I just want to thank you too, Lexi, for the positive impact you do have in the community. I know it's a difficult job, but you bring a positive influence to so many lives throughout our community, and I just want you to know it doesn't go unrecognized, so thank you.
Thank you, Chief. I appreciate that.
And I'll just add, the demeanor that Lexi has here, you might think could be a little bit muted even because she's in a room full of people where she's getting to speak. But that smile that she has right there, the way that she handles herself is exactly how she is everywhere. And I think that's a real benefit as you do what you do. And I've expressed this to Lexi before in other settings, but how she carries herself and how she interacts with people, I think goes a long way in making her really, really successful at what she does. So we applaud and thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Just to echo what Seth just said, I had a victim that recently told me of the positive impact that you were able to have in their moment of crisis and need to them and their family. And so it doesn't go unrecognized to us as a council and to our community, just the effort that you go through on a daily basis, because these things are happening daily. So thank you for what you're doing.
Thank you so much for letting me know. I appreciate that. Thank you, Council
Thank you,
members.
Lexi. Appreciate you every
Thanks,
time you
Lexi.
come. Yeah, you can give her a round of applause. This is a good one.